Jarrad, I suppose, last round, you said you wanted to have a look at a few more guys. Are we going to see any fresh faces, any debutants? I have an inkling there might be two.
No, you will find out at 4 o'clock today, I think, when teams come out. What I will disclose, without giving away too much, is we'll bring Rhett Bazzo into the side. With obviously Gov going out, having surgery. We'll bring Red into the side. I think it's a really good story for him and the football club. Come from a long way back, missed large portions of the front half of the season, put in a good block of football over the last 4 or 5 weeks, and with obviously not having Gov there, we need that extra tool, and he's definitely earned his spot, and really excited to see how he goes and how he finishes off the season, because it's really sort of catapults him into the off-season and into our pre-season, obviously, and then for season 2025. So we're really excited for that.
Given the uncertainty about Tom, Rhett and Harry become pretty significant players for the club, don't they?
Yeah, well, that's his situation, and obviously the club's working through that. But obviously for us, Harry's just re-signed, Brady Hoff re-signed, which is exciting for the football club. And obviously Rhett, as I just mentioned, gets his opportunity to finish off the season on a real positive in the AFL side.
What sort of character is it taken with Rhett, do you think, to deal with everything that he's dealt with away from footy, but also a significant injury this year?
Oh, just his resilience. He's had great support around him from the football club. I know externally he has as well. But yeah, his mental resilience, and just I think it just shows a lot about his character to keep pushing forward, and and we want to see him bear the fruits of that in the future.
Your comments post-match against Carlton were sort of replayed over in the media, especially in Victoria. How poignant you were to some of the strong messages to the players. Do you feel like they've heard that this week ahead of the game against Geelong?
Oh, like all weeks, when you don't perform, we're always going to dive into the reasons why, whether that's through individual performances, our line performances within the team. We reviewed that strongly, as I've mentioned, in the press conference after the game, and look, we'll see what the response is. They'll be on the players to see how they go about things. It's our last game. We head down to Geelong. Dare say no one's really given us a shot at going down there and pulling off a win. And we can focus on the wins, the outcome, but we want to make sure that we play the football that we want to see from ourselves in the right way. And on the weekend, we did it for a quarter, probably first parts of the first quarter, and really didn't fire a shot after that until probably late, when we sort of got a little bit of what we wanted in the game, but the game was done. We've reviewed strongly, and we'll make sure that we be accountable to that.
Are there any scars associated with GMHBA Stadium, given recent visits to the ground?
We probably could have half a side that have never been there, so they won't have any scars. It's been well documented that I think 2006 would have been the last time we won there. That's the past. We're in the present, and as I said, we've got half a team probably that hasn't even been there. So I see this as a great opportunity for us to finish off the season strongly and perform how we want to perform, and go down there with some real vibe and some real energy about ourselves, which will hopefully set us up in the future.
Are you wary of? Obviously wary of Geelong. They're playing for a top 4 spot, but it's also Tom Hawkins' farewell game. Zach Tui's announced his retirement. There's a lot going on at Geelong at the moment. Are you wary that things could get ugly for your side?
Well, it got ugly for us last week when it was Gaffey's send-off game and 250th for Cripper. So you've just mentioned Hawkins and Tui. So we'd like to think we can spoil that party too. But in all seriousness, we'll focus on us. We know they've got a lot to play for, top 4. We're not worried about that. We're focusing on making sure we finish the season off strongly and execute and perform how we want to perform. And if we do that, and I've said this many times in this seat since in the last 7 weeks, is that we are a competitive side, and we've shown that. We've shown it against Brisbane, we've shown it against Fremantle, but we understand the challenge that we see in front of us, but we see it as a great opportunity.
How important is it to finish the season with competitiveness, especially for the younger players as they go into an off-season in a club that's in transition?
Yeah, well, it's really important because it just it gives us an idea, because we're in this exploration period of giving players opportunities to play at AFL level. It gives us an idea of where they're really at, so then gives us an idea to focus what we need to focus on in the pre-season as well. So we can obviously draw lines on where the gaps are, but in terms of their effort and how we want them to compete, we understand with young players it's going to be inconsistent at times. Our leaders, as I've mentioned over the last 3 or 4 weeks, have been exceptional in big moments for us. Now on the weekend it didn't come together. on both fronts. But we have one game to go, and we want to make sure we finish off on the right foot. So that's all our focus is on, and we understand there's going to be mistakes, there's going to be moments where they could have been better, but all we can do as coaches is make sure we keep them on task and keep supporting them to follow it and try and get that outcome that we're looking for.
This might be our last opportunity to speak to you, except Mitch will be in Geelong. What have you learned from the last 7 weeks as a coach, being a senior coach for an AFL side?
Well, I think I said it this morning. I've ridden the emotions of the highs when you win, the enjoyment you get from that with the playing group and the football department, because you work so hard for that. And I've experienced also the lows when you walk away with a 12-goal, 11-goal defeat. And then you get the mixed emotions where you were good enough but you didn't look for long enough. So I've really enjoyed it, to be honest, sitting here. As you mentioned, 7 games, I think 6 weeks of coaching. It's gone quick, to be honest, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And really looking forward to just finishing off and hopefully trying to help the team be better this week. And that's all I've really sort of gone after in my role over the last 6 or 7 weeks. I've enjoyed this time here talking to you guys. You all sit in the same seat every time I come and see you at the press conference, which is enjoyable. But no, I've just thoroughly enjoyed all parts of it really. Getting across the whole football club. Being able to sort of spread my wings a little bit to all the players, when you're not just looking after the midfield. So it's been great exposure and thoroughly one that I'm very grateful for.
What does next week look like for you though? Normally a coach would start exit meetings, all that sort of stuff. What does it look like for you specifically as an interim coach? Yeah,
we'll still do our exit meetings. They're probably a little bit different. Each line coach will do their exit meetings with their players. I'll be no different, and we'll do a season review. And then obviously we'll just probably discuss and talk about what the future looks like. We've got a few coaches that are in limbo, and but we'll go through the same process. We've got to make sure we wrap up this season and do it in the right way.
Do you stick to the processes with your delivery this week, or do you dig into the bag of tricks, pulling out emotional speeches, trying to leave it all out there?
Pull them all out. No, look, I think really want to sort of make sure the players just relax their shoulders. And go down there with a mindset of not what you got to lose, but more of what have you got to gain as an individual and as a team. And for us, we've got a lot to gain because, as I said, it will set us up in the right way to see where we're at and how we can approach the off-season. But my messaging will be about opportunity and to make sure they express themselves, play your role, and do it collectively and have a majority of players on the park that do that, well then we're in with a shot.
Has this 6-week period whet your appetite for something like this, Jarrad?
I think I've said it before. I've enjoyed it and definitely has whet my appetite. And as I said, I think when you're in this seat and as I mentioned before, you go through the emotions of the wins, losses and sort of half games, it really exposes you to, your own sort of mindset as to is this what you want to do in the future. And I said from the outset or from the get-go, I think when I sat in here the first ever press conference with you guys, is that it's all about a journey and an experience for myself, and I'm on that path at the moment, and I've been fortunate enough to be given this opportunity, so definitely has whet the appetite.
Is there anything specifically you need to guard against when you play Geelong, and particularly Geelong down there?
I think you got to respect they play a different. Well, their statistical information that comes out of their games down there versus when they're not down in Geelong is completely different. This is narrow ground. I think even comparing that to down in Hobart, it's about sort of 15 to 20 metres narrower. So you got to respect that. So the contest is important. Clearance is super important, and that's where we fell short last week in around the stoppage. And we knew that was going to be a challenge against Carlton, because they hadn't really lost any players around there. So we knew that was going to be a challenge, and this week's no different. We got to make sure we get field position from our clearance and contest wins. And on a narrow ground, you can defend a little bit easier. There's a little bit more room for error if there is any errors. But we got to make sure we just sort of aim up in that area.
Harley Reed made the 22 under 22 side, and we've seen the excitement machine that is Harley Reed. How do you assess his first season, and what areas do you see that require focus from him to fulfil his undoubted potential? Yeah,
great acknowledgement for Harley. And before I go on to Harley, I think it's also I want to acknowledge, I think Brady Hoff was nominated and Ruben Jimby, and it's interesting that Brady Hoff's not in there. To be honest, taking out some of the best small forwards in the competition and doesn't get in there. So that's for the people that choose that team to think about. Remember, Rubens had a great second half of the year playing half back. So, yeah, it's great for those three players to be nominated and Harley obviously to get into the team, which is, the future is bright for those players. Harley, what have I learned? Very competitive young man, loves his teammates, really attentive to his role and going into games. His footy IQ is why he was a number one draft pick, is very high. But we love the combative nature, and because he's so combative and because he is such a talent, 19 years of age in his first year, and he's been compared to the likes of Chris Judd. This game's changed since when Chris Judd came onto the scene, is because he's so combative, he can draw the attention of others. And does he need to obviously continue to grow and educate in the space of when to be in that space and when not to be? Yeah. But he's a 19-year-old young man. I've said that before. We've seen probably some of, I won't mention names in the AFL, we've seen players to the age of 28 still getting into that situation. Let's cut him some slack.
Liam Ryan, there was a report this week that he's going to miss for personal reasons.
Yeah, he will. Yeah, unfortunately, he's got some personal matters he needs to attend up in Geraldton. Yep.
How do you look to restructure your forward line then without him? Obviously, he's a vital part of that.
Yeah, well, Petruccelli, is the obvious one. He was in the 23, so we'll look to possibly bring him in, but you'll find out at 4 o'clock when the teams come out.
I know you've said repeatedly you're going to wait till the end of this year to decide on the future and the coaching and that. Human nature, though, dictates that a little bit must be in your mind about daring to dream if you can get a win. Most unlikely a win's down in Geelong, that it would add weight to your presentation or whatever the process you have to go through. Have you thought about that? Have you allowed yourself a moment to look forward to that maybe?
To be honest, no. I'm not caught up on the wins and losses that's going to help my cause. I'm focusing purely on the team and the football club and my job at hand. That, as I've said, and I'm being true to my word, is something that I'll cover in the next 7 days. Once we get through this game, that's all my focuses are on.